在过去的一周里，我们迎来了 LPL 的5周年庆典。
在新的一周里 ，LPL 将再度踏上征程。
季后赛的争夺已经进入了白热化的阶段，
每支队伍此时此刻都将爆发出惊人的能量。
LPL 在本赛季进入了群雄逐鹿的年代，在这其中，令我印象最深刻的还是 IG。IG 在这个赛季各路选手的表现上面都非常的惊人，可以说以目前他们连胜的态势，你甚至很难看出击败他们的弱点在哪。
本周最有看点的比赛，我认为是 EDG 对阵 Snake。这两支队伍现在分列西部第1、第2的位置，这一场比赛将决定着双方在季后赛的一个主动权。
随着季后赛慢慢的接近，
各支队伍也需要调整到最好的状态，
拿出自己最强的阵容，
布置最全面的战术。
只有一支战队能登上 LPL 的巅峰，
让我们拭目以待。
Around the world, the race for an MSI invitation is on. In the West, 12 teams have emerged from the herd, and only in 7 days, Korea will tell if it's too little too late for SKT. But here, in our home arena in Shanghai, we are in the final sprint, not just for a shot at playoffs, but for a shot at Chengdu Finals on April 28th. It is do or die. Every single team is still alive, but some just barely so. TOP must win today, while WE and FPX are in the fight for 4th. Hello, I'm Frostgrid. This is Rusty,
G'day.
and we've got a ton of action coming at you, so we're going to go real quick through this one as we bring up the standings. And the standings are nuts in the LPL right now. Cross conference is dead. This is the final round of the double round robin.
That's right, we finally finished our cross-conference play, and you'll note that on the East there is a lot more victories just overall. Generally they have proven they are the stronger region, but also on the West, it was just mentioned in that video, Snake against EDG is creeping up around the corner. Everything is still super tight in that playoff race.
And then likewise later this week, we do have RNG taking on Invictus Gaming, and RNG, it's been a slow, steady climb over cross-conference, but they are also competing to see who will be top in the East. Now today's matches, Suning versus TOP, last chance. It is do or die for TOP if they still want to have a playoff shot.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that top lane in the matchup as well. Marin against Xiaowao should be explosive, it should be exciting, and of course our second set today, Frosker and WE against Fun plus Phoenix. Just exciting in general when you look at the FPX roster, but WE, they've still got a long way to climb towards that playoffs race.
Yeah, absolutely. WE currently hold the spot. FPX, if they do beat WE today, they will not take the 4th spot, but it's the only time that they will have their own agency to quickly grab what is left of playoff tickets. Now, that said, cross-conference is done. The results are in, and as Clement likes to put it, East is beast.
Yep, that's what it says now as well on your screens. East is in fact a beast, apparently, but it's all about those top 3 teams for the East. Of course, 21-0, you can see that. Overall, the East had a significantly better performance as well, with 19 more overall game victories and 8 extra set victories, being 29 to the 21 of West.
And of course, the important factor is that only 4 teams from each conference will exit. So if we have Invictus Gaming, Rogue Warriors, and RNG, who are the top 3 teams in the LPL, they're all stacked in the same conference. That last spot is just that much more valuable.
Yeah, and that's where the excitement also comes. Conversely to the other side as well, right? If all 3 top teams are in one conference, the 4th spot's very hard to attain for the East. Who's going to get the 1st spot in the West if they're all going to be, say, the 4th best team in our entire region? And how does that actually pan out for playoffs?
We'll have to see, but let's also check in on our best of the Rift, our top 5 players for Week 7, because it is Week 8, Day 1. But let's take a look back. Xiaowao, Karso, Rookie, SMLZ, and Kalua. And you were talking about that explosive matchup in the top lane in our first series. Guess what? Xiaowao's recognized for great last week.
Absolutely, had a fantastic performance. His Camille is one of his standout champions currently. His ability to flank, engage, team fight, and split push, whatever you name, he can seem to do it at least on that Camille. And for what it's worth, he's been playing very well with the rest of his team.
And then the mid-jungle, Karsa and Rookie. Now, Karsa did not start most recently for RNG. It was MLXG, but his most recent performance has been incredible. And frankly, I think he is their stronger jungler.
Karsa's proven his strengths as a tracking jungler spectacular for the side of RNG. Of course, we did see MLXG come in, and of course he played Xin Zhao, so I'm just going to give credit further to Casa for not playing that champion on RNG and still looking like a solid meta-based jungler for them, and he has done a lot of work and improved very quickly.
Rusty with the participation award. Rookie, of course, still the best mid laner in the LPL, but new faces SMLZ and Kahlua, the veteran SMLZ, formerly of OMG, and Kahlua, this is his first time appearing here and his very first split in the LPL.
Yeah, certainly is. Of course, the entire Rogue Warriors bottom lane gets the best of the Rift for themselves, respectively, in that 2v2, and they really have stepped up to the occasion. They've been able to go through cross-conference and smash everybody. They've diversified the way they're playing. SMLZ has a Jhin as well now cropping up, and he's done the most damage per minute of AD carries. That guy's going insane.
Yeah, putting up some huge stats. But personally, we were talking about this earlier last week, or later last week, I should say. Kahlua, the unsung hero of Rogue Warriors, as they start to spike up, as the support pool is getting more stacked, it's really nice to see him get the shout out. And Rusty, I know you had the hard task, because it's Monday, you get to rank all of the support players. I did the ADCs, Raz did the junglers, and now we're on support. So let's pull up the list, and let's really throw some shade at you.
And of course, the important precursor to this entire list is that it's my list, it's no one else's list in the LPL. If you have a problem with it, if you disagree with something, at me. I'm at RustyLol. I will probably come at you with a response as well, because I'll probably disagree with you. I think I'm right. Anyway, the list is here.
Okay, let's start. I know everyone always wants to start at the top 5, but I'm actually going to start the opposite way around, because we have a ton of players in the LPL. This list goes to 10. There are 14 teams, and there are over 18 supports competitive in the LPL. So who didn't make the list and why? Because numbers that jump out to me are people like PYL and 5.
Yeah, PYL 5 are the two that we're going to reference here, and Caveman was able to snake away the 10th position on my list from them here in the top 10 supports. Now, the reason that I put Caveman there is everyone below Vici has not been performing too well themselves, respectively. Think of OMG and LGD as for the two competitors we're naming. But Caveman, even in defeats, in moments where Vici have looked good, it does feel like it is mostly around him. He's shown that he's got some pocket picks in the Bard, and that he's able to actually hard carry entire games on champions like that Bard. PYL, we haven't really seen that from, and 5 has had good moments. I think Caveman's just done it more often.
So the versatility, bringing Caveman at number 10, and then the other one that really jumps out to me is Baolan at number 5. So Invictus Gaming, a lot of analysts, a lot of the community will say that IG, they're definitively the strongest team in the LPL, but they have a support that's sitting middle of the pack.
And that's because they are the best team in the LPL. Frost, but Baolan being 5th, the reason that he is there in the list as well, you have to think about the 4 that are above him. It's because he only needs to be the 5th best support in the LPL. He only needs to be middle of the pack. He needs to be consistent and just provide what his team needs. Invictus Gaming have got 4 carries on that roster and then a support. And they don't need a 5th carry. They need someone to actually complement the rest of them. He's just completely middle of the pack statistically, stylistically, and we know that he has a better opportunity and a higher ceiling than he's showing, but right now he's doing exactly what he has to for IG, and that is just be a support.
Hard to shine when you've got so many superstars around you. But speaking of the superstars of the ADC position, let's go ahead and deep dive on a couple of key members here. Now, you've got them separated. Road and Yoon and Kahlua and Ming. Hit me with this one. Why are these two grouped together?
Road and Yoon are separate but together for themselves because I've labeled them as the Wanderer and the Traveler. Now, one of them wanders around aimlessly, the other one travels towards a destination, and one of those is Yoon, and of course that is the difference between these two right now. Yoon is the Traveler. He's known for his Tahm Kench, he's known for roaming around with his AD carry and Fury, and going from bottom lane, quickly rotating the top lane, the fast rotations, the macro play from them. It's something that you're often used to seeing, and he's done it very well, not just this split, for multiple splits now. Road, on the other hand, is the Wanderer. He is the Bard. Think of Bard when you think of Road, because he sometimes finds himself a Chime and doesn't realize that he's at the enemy Nexus and doesn't even know how he got there, and then has to try and fight his way out of it. He's very good at doing that part of it, but he still doesn't know how he got there in the first place.
Does the most damage of most supports in the league, Road, because he is constantly fighting an uphill battle. Now, Kahlua and Ming, why are these two groups?
Kahlua and Ming are known as the supports with the hardest role in the LPL. Of course, you have to think about the AD carries that they're supporting, which is why we say that.
SMLZ and Uzi?
SMLZ and Uzi, very big names, very demanding AD carries as well. But for these two to be on the list, they have to be able to shine in their own rights and stand out whilst next to those AD carries. And I think that's what makes Kahlua and Ming so special at the moment, is they can stand out by being Janna, they can stand out by being Alistar, but they have very similar styles.
So some versatile babysitters there. Now let's focus in on Mako, because you had him at number 1. EDG are not doing very well right now in the standings. They're trying to climb up in their own conference. They were defeated and dropped down in cross-conference. So why is Mako still definitively the best support?
And in a weird way, you know how we said Caveman was number 10 because he does big things consistently? Mako does that in a more consistently winning team with better players in the team as well. Ultimately, Mako has been the leader for them whilst he's doing all of this. So Mako's got a unique quality that'll never exist in the stats. It'll never exist on any kind of stat sheets in your life. The intangibles are there for him. Mako does it all. And whilst EDG aren't winning, when they do, it does look like he's able to carry the brunt of the burden. I forget the word I'm looking for.
To shoulder the burden.
Most of it. Yeah, he does most of it.
Heavy lifting.
Mako is the shot caller, and he wasn't the shot caller the entire time. Clearlove was there. Now Clearlove is gone, so Mako has to take that role. He is playing things like Shen when they swap out their AD carry to Hope for that week as well, and EDG still looked outstanding. So imagine getting rid of your one superstar AD carry that everything revolves around and still being able to win games off the back of Mako. It shows the qualities that he has as a player, and it shows why he is deserving of that #1 spot.
I'm hearing you say a lot of words like responsibility and talking about the intangibles, and I can only assume that it is a very rough position. You know, supports, they don't have a lot of key stats to really start ranking them up, and it's almost like the eye test. So we talked about Mako, and moving over to Hudier, also ranked very highly. Snake, yes, they're top of their table, but they've recently been on a backward slide. What kind of intangibles are you looking at when you're grading someone like Hudier?
Hudier's special strengths are that he can be a playmaker for the team, and that he has a lot of capabilities within himself to continue to grow even from where he is now. We've moved him down to 3rd place. I originally had him at 2nd, but Killua surprised me. But then when we actually take a deeper dive into Hudier and what makes him strong, when he first joined the LPL, he was known as a playmaker. He was Rakan. And now he's got the Alistar, he's got a bunch of other champions, he's much more consistent to the meta, but he's still got that playmaking aspect to him, something that works very well. And the difference that Hudier's got compared to someone like Mako is that he has to work with Crystal, and Crystal has been underperforming a fair amount this split.
Resources around you as he whiffs that
yeah,
Verisol.
Exactly, but he's also got SOFM that he's working with. So Hudier's making something work out of what is not a perfect scenario for him, where Balan just supports his AD carry. Mako can support his AD carry or shot call. I think Hudier's actually stepped up to the plate, and he has a lot more capabilities moving forwards as 8.4 affects him.
And what's really cool about this is that Hudier doesn't have a ton of experience. You were talking about in the LPL, used to be very recently a rookie, and then we also have a rookie like Kahlua, and it feels like the mid lane position is so stacked in the LPL, but one of our other key positions that seems to be stacked is that bottom lane, not just the ADCs, but the supports, because I know you also wanted to do a deep dive on Kahlua. Yeah,
Kahlua is also one of the rookies. We mentioned the million rookie AD carries that exist in our league. Well, Kahlua's actually stepped up massively in week 7, and he's very much deserving, in my eyes, of 2nd place in the support tier list. The reason that he is there is simply because he also had a similar role to Ming. He has to protect a superstar AD carry, but since we hit week 7, he's shown he's diversified. The new patch comes around, he's able to play different things, and he can still support, if need be, on SMLZ, but he can also hard carry when necessary and engage when needed.
I mean, is this the difference in simple terms, as Hudier is the aggressor, the guy that's going forward, and Kahlua is more of like the defensive line who's protecting the quarterback?
I feel like it's in part that is correct, yes, but Kahlua is also that multi-rolled type of support who has multiple layers there. Yeah, the versatility is there. And unfortunately, the difference here is small amounts, like you mentioned before. It may be one extra ward that he places that enables a teleport. It may be that one extra step that he takes to bring the support down, or engaging first, tanking one extra turret shot. You don't notice all of the things that he does, but the last week from Kahlua has impressed me so much that he's managed to go from 4th to 2nd on my tier list, and he's diversified his champion pool during that.
I know it's not just you. Clement said last week that he felt that Kahlua was the strongest mechanical support that we have in the LPL. Huge compliments there. And the final question I have for you, Rusty, before we get into this matchup, as a support player, master, former pro player, what are you looking at on 8.4? What is the primary responsibility of the support?
I speak towards the LPL when I say this. I think the biggest change that we've had, the biggest thing that I really like right now moving into 8.4 is the diversity that supports actually have in a playstyle. You're now looking at mid-jungle duos, but it's support's turn to shine, and they can play multiple different roles.
Cool. But that said, we do need to now look forward to day 1 of week 8, and it is Suning Gaming versus Topsports Gaming. Now, where these teams are currently sitting is that Suning, they have that playoff spot. They still have 6 series left to play it out and retain it. Topsports Gaming, it is do or die. The nail in the coffin can come down tonight. They must win every single series if they want to have a shot at playoffs.
Yep, this is the one that they can control. So TOP well and truly on the back foot. They made changes very late into the split as well. The addition of Marin wasn't something that happened in week 1. So that late recognition and the change of their compositions and the players within that means that this is a desperate climb.
And the key thing is the lineups. So Xiao, Hacker, Knight, Fury, and Yoon. This was the exact same lineup that faced Topsports Gaming the first time around. However, Topsports Gaming's roster is almost completely different. Marin, XX, Goong, Choo-Choo, and Phage.
Yeah, having XX and Phage into the mix as well as Marin means that there's a lot of shifts here in the TOP roster. They're still trying to discover themselves, and for what it's worth, I do think this is a strong roster. I just wonder if TOP have finally come to the conclusion that this is the one that they want to keep, or if this is just their Game 1 roster. Remember, they could substitute out at any moment if Game 1 goes poorly.
And the thing is a lot of Game 1s have gone very poorly for TOP, unfortunately. Now, Marin came about halfway through the split.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, do you just look at Marin and say, this is the MVP, if Marin doesn't win, then it's over for them?
It's a big part of it. It's definitely, like, Marin is super important. I have a feeling that the way, and you've seen this through the tape as well, TOP have been playing around Marin's existence now. They've completely succumbed to the fact that he is the new star of the roster, and they don't want to play to anywhere else on the map. And that's why I think we've got XX in opposed to someone like Karin who wants to track and be slow.
Okay. That said, we're going to go and send it over to the casters. So Pulse, Raz, take it away.
Thank you for asking. I guess you've already introduced us, but if in case you need a reminder, since it has been 10 seconds, my name's Pulse, this guy's Raz. How you doing today, Raz?
I'm doing quite well, thank you, Pulse. Had to remind
worries.
everybody of our names.
Good stuff. Now, getting into this matchup, Sunu versus TOP, this is almost a bit of a historic matchup coming into today. You know, both these two teams came in at the same time in the LPL, and I feel like their trajectories have very much just continued to go in the way that they started. Sunu Gaming just got better and better and better. TOP just kind of stagnated, but recently, with multiple members joining the roster, they do look a little bit rejuvenated.
Yeah, just because not only was there real growth on the team, understanding of the meta on the side of Suning Gaming, better acquisitions in the form of Knight, who's performing so well on the team. So sure, wave the flag of Marin, but that was only after Chinese New Year's.
Yeah, and they need to win every single game from here on out, as the analyst was saying, if they want even a shot at playoffs, because not all of that is even in their hands. So it starts today with TOP trying to get this win, and with champion select. So it will be Galio, Cogmore, and Karma from Suning Gaming, and meanwhile, Zaya, Olaf, and Scion Ban from TOP.
Oh, leaving up the junglers. So the two main junglers we've been seeing is Olaf and Skarner. So I wonder when the Skarner is going to get picked up. XX has catered more so towards the Olaf, Skarner, and Kha'Zix. So it seems like TOP gets their first hit at that.
But Suning will prioritize the Tam Kench for Yoon in the bottom lane as well, and also to Fury for some extent if he wants to take a low mobility AD carry, trying to get some saves out there. But TOP also with the Gnar first pick coming in for Marin, and also the Caitlyn for Choo-Choo.
So Rusty talked about him. He's the traveler, and that's a very fitting term to have him because pick up the Tahm Kench for him. Since joining the LPL, he's been the macro support, moving from place to place, getting priority when they're trying to swap lanes. Tahm Kench has been the identity of Yoon, and as of late has been working incredibly well with Hacker in looking for mid lane dives. So I really like the fact that he's picked himself up to Tahm Kench really early on.
Yeah, priority no less, and plus the fact if TOP are indeed looking for the Skarner themselves, will be a great pick into that one as well. Sejuani will be the priority for Hacker, however, in the jungle, and Knight will get his hands on Rise.
Someone's really got to get Hacker off the Sejuani pick. The enemy team, that is. Because he's gotten it time and time and time and time again. Every series seems to be a Sejuani game for Hacker. I feel like that's the first thing as a coach you realize that, okay, we're probably going up against that Sejuani. We're going to have to deal with that. And now it's going to be on Tagung, who might have to, he's already hovering over Cleanse. So it feels like they're ready for it. I just wonder what he's going to have to pick up for himself, because Rise and Sejuani is such an easily gankable lane.
Yeah, the knowledge was there, but they have to decide they just wanted to play into it. Zac was also the pickup for XX into the jungle, so we're not going to have Olaf in this one as he was banned in first phase. And it was also a Varus and Camille ban towards Suning Gaming, specifically at Fury and Xiao Ao in the top lane that would be facing down that Gnar. Also a Z and Cassiopeia towards Goong for the final bans from Suning.
Gotta wonder what Goong was going to pick up. I was about to say Talia, because that is the go-to pick for Goong since he's joined the LPL as well, even the LSPL as well. So that's a mainstay for him. Yeah, so I wouldn't be too surprised from that front. Along with the Zac, that seems like he could go straight towards the bottom side of the map. That's what TOP is already telling the team, that Gnar is great just to hold the top side into an island. Bottom side of the map, Caitlyn is usually great for priority. It's going to be on to Suning Gaming to try and challenge that. Oh!
Ooh, hello. That is an Ashe locked in. That's our first Ashe this split in the LPL.
I have not seen it globally. That is insane to see the Ashe pick being picked up. And it's a Fury pick historically.
Yeah.
He's gone towards the Ashe. And we're starting to see more utility AD carries along the way. So, of course, once the patch hit, we saw SMLZ picked up his Jhin. And the reason he was able to pick it up for himself was because we saw an Olaf and Cassiopeia. This time around, we're seeing a lot of engage, so he doesn't have that excuse. He could actually go towards any pick, even so much the Kog'Maw, even though they banned it for themselves. But they picked up the Ashe. Now you have to be afraid of 3 ways the way they can start fights. Rune Prison, Sejuani ulti, and Ashe ult. This is going to be a sick game.
And plus you have the Ashe in the bottom lane able to deal with the Caitlyn. You know, Ashe was often drafted into the Caitlyn because, hey, your range is pretty close. 600 versus 650 for Caitlyn means you can actually try and challenge her in lane, plus with the volley.
Yes, the volley is the major point. That's why I really want to see what runes she's going to be running. Because we have seen some Comet Ashes in solo queue in generally. So Comet Ashe, just for poke, you lose attack speed. We might see Precision Primary. It's going to be fun to see what she wants to pick up going into level 1s.
Yeah, looking at that build already from the Ashe coming in will be one of the topics that we should be looking at as the game gets underway. But also the final pick was Thresh coming in for alongside that Caitlyn into the bottom lane there. So try to get some hooks off, but it is into a Tahm Kench, so if it's onto the Ashe, then going to be an easy devour for Tahm Kench to get out of there. But obviously looking to try and make those plays happen and look for a more risky form of engage.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of a Thresh pickup. I understand that they're utilizing it to emphasize the bottom side focus for TOP, Taliyah, Caitlyn, Thresh, a lot of bot side focus so they can get a dive going for themselves, sure. But we're already talking about Tahm Kench being picked up really early on. So for TOP to concoct a bot side focus composition to go for skirmish and fights when the Tahm Kench and Ashe are being picked up, 2 very safe laners. I'll say Tahm Kench obviously for his gulp, but the CC, the slows, the ulti, even if it goes to level 6 point, that's a lot of protection there. Suning Gaming going to recognize TOP's strategy. It comes down to the execution.
And at the same time, TOP, a lot of their wins have recently been off the back of Marin doing well in the top lane, then either rotating towards his team or getting a strong split push down as well.
That's what's surprising, because we expected Marin to be the style of play towards top lane, split push, and that's what they did for their first 2 weeks. But then as the split went on, it was Marin rotating to the rest of the team, so we might see more team fights.
Especially with that Gnar pick as we get onto the Rift for TOP versus Suning Gaming. See what the teams have for us. And this will be the second time in the split they'll be facing each other, and Xiao Ao is on the run as we start the game. He's getting chased down, has to take Sanguine Pool level 1, but he's still going to get chased out here. Burns the flash finally, in comes the hook. Good sidestep from Xiao Ao. He's got the help of Hacker now, but these rocks are coming through. Heal comes through as well to just try and get Xiao Ao out of here. Now Hacker's under attack and Marin will back it up. Knight and Fury finally arrive to the play. We'll get a bit of return damage now as Fury will look to chase down Marin and Phage. See if they can get that recall in time as minions have spawned.
Yep. 1 minute, 10 seconds. You can base. In terms of Gnar, I don't think it's too bad for him. Okay, fleet footwork from Ashe, but let's talk about the level 1 because Xiao Ao leveled up Sanguine Pool immediately. Going into Gnar, Gnar is going to bully that. So that's really unfortunate that Xiao Ao is not able to pick up his Q or E and utilized both of his summoner spells to get out of that.
And plus the fact he's running Spellbook in the top lane means we won't be able to pick up the teleport for a while. Luckily the heal summoner comes up relatively quickly, so when he looks for his first back, he should be able to swap that one out for his teleport, but so he won't be able to do it in the near future. And Marin does get some free time, as you said, to bully him in the top lane.
Yeah, I guess that is the benefit of the new rune page system having the Spellbook, is that you can, or at least you do have the summoner spell CDR just immediately off of that, so it's not going to be too bad.
It's not going to be the worst. And also Marin didn't get to go back, so he's at a small health deficit as he starts off this lane in the top lane.
The auto attack's off. It's a good skin. This is the best skin, getting those auto attack. The animation is actually clean, not the base skin. Lovely.
And still getting some damage down onto this Gnar. Looking towards the mid lane as well, looking at this Ryze and Taliyah. Actually, we're going to take a look at bot lane first. So Yoon and Fury in this bottom lane. They have this Ashe pick. Going to be spawning out XX on his jungle camp as well. One of the things that Ashe will bring to a game with a hawk shot.
Yep, level 2 immediately. Getting the quick push off with volley, meaning she gets level 2 first, using the hawk shot to catch out Zach's pathing. It's the best part of Ashe, and what works really well for Suning Gaming is being able to track down XX really early on. That's going to protect them in the first gank. So the fact that Zach went from red Raptors to bottom side and they have an understanding that that Zach can look for a gank there means that they can play safely. You can see where Yoon is in the lane. If there is ever a gank, he's in position to swallow Fury and get out of there.
And we can see the runes coming in for Ashe, so it will be fleet footwork in precision, moving toward alacrity as per normal, and I wanted a bit more time to take a look at that, but it was Gathering Storm in sorcery as well, plus the ultimate hat, which makes sense since Ashe's thing is kind of, you know, throwing arrows.
Yep, that's the usual, at least Gathering Storm's the usual pickup for AD carries. Here we go.
We're looking for a dive in top lane. Marin level 3, Xiao out looking for this one. We know he's Sanguine Pool for sure. Hacker gets a couple auto attacks down, looking for the final auto to try and get the stun down. There it is. And Knight follows up with the Rune Prison. Marin's just straight up dead. That was a well-executed dive coming in from Suning.
Very well executed. My mind's casted back to just after Chinese New Year's when Suning Gaming went for these dives, especially up against Jingdong, and the execution was so bad. Great play from Yoon. And then they've just gotten slowly better and better as they went along, to the point where now we even saw a beautiful execution where Hacker waited for Knight to be in position so he didn't take useless damage. So really well done, and then that's them the kill on the Marin.
And of all the players as well that you'd really want to shut down on TOP, it would be Marin as well in the top lane, because as you said, like, he has been grouping up more and more. The first time we saw him, he locked in the cannon. We were like, okay, this is pretty cool, but even then he looked for those team fights, has kind of shifted towards Gnar. It seems like his primary pick every single time will almost always prioritize it in draft as well, but now it's going to be slightly less effective.
Yeah, and in this time around, it just negates the level 1 problems that Vladimir had. Getting the first dive for himself. Sure, it's just the assist goal, but now Marin doesn't have flash in TP. And then when he went back, he went cult for himself just because that's a poor back timing. So now Marin's on the back foot, and he's going to have a tough time going up against Xiao.
He also went for this cult early as well, kind of expecting to have a pretty much a free pass in this laning phase. And XX currently being challenged on his Raptors. Knight was pushing up in lane and just wandered over, see if he can get anything done onto his Raptors against XX. And Hacker now moving towards the top side of the jungle.
I would say the best part of the TOP draft right now is the Talia for Goong. Nice into Rise in the sense that you do get the push in, depending on how you're placing your Qs. If you isn't, I would say there's a time where I want to see get a good idea of the mid lane to see
what the Venn diagram looks like.
Exactly, because that can get ugly. But usually good pushing lane into the Rise and allows Zach to just farm out pretty peacefully.
You see, even in a short time in the LPL, Marin has accrued pretty high stats in most metrics. See gold, participation, CS per minute as well as CSD at 15. Generally does pretty well in terms of dominating his laning phase, but it is, of course, how the rest of the team interacts with Marin as the game goes on. When you get to that mid-game, can he execute like a proper 4-1 or actually get the Gnar to group up properly? And especially if Suning Gaming literally just rinse and repeat this play, go back to the top lane. Marin's already on the run, but the point and click CC, there's no getting away from it. Goong moves into the top lane with the Weaver's Wall, but now he's under attack. We have the round warp, and now Goong is just kind of in the middle of everywhere. However, all of the Suning members jump on the round warp. They flash towards the tower, and Goong trying to make it away, but once again, the Rune Prison, it's empowered, it locks him down, and that's a second kill.
This is getting messy. It really is for TOP. They thought they had the opportunity to at least repel the dive with Goong, but if you saw where XX was on the map, he was on the bottom side of the map clearing. So that was just a death sentence for Marin and Goong, realizing that Suning Gaming have a really good composition for diving. The innate tankiness of Hacker, the, of course, sanguine pool from Xiao, just constantly able to get in and out of the tower aggro. So incredible work from Suning Gaming, and it's just proper timing. It must be, I would say, Ashe's just the hawk shot, being able to catch out XS's pathing, that's giving them that many ganks.
So much information for Suning to play with to execute these dives, and I feel like this is the first time I've seen Marin significantly behind the lane against anyone, because there is so much pressure moving towards this top side. And ultimately, League of Legends, it's a team game, you know? You can't just be a great top laner in an island 1v1 all day. Like, at some point, you need to be able to communicate with your team and make it happen. Goong came up to the top lane, but XX, nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, teams just get caught up in Suning Gaming's early pace. Suning Gaming are so quick and paced that, like, BLG, that we've given them a lot of credit for their early game improvements, just got completely destroyed by the fast, constant dives, movement from Suning Gaming, because Hacker's a great ganker. Knight has been moving properly throughout the split, and so if you're TOP, you have the Talia, you need to basically utilize her to get vision control from mid to top and mid to bot, just so you can at least catch that out earlier on so you can respond.
It really has been a big stylistic difference for Suning this split, because last split they were definitely much slower. They were trying to find their feet. What style did they really want? Coming into this split, remember Clement had a stat. They were the slowest team in the LPL. Moving into this split, they were the fastest team in the world before we went to Chinese New Year. Pretty fast. They would just rotate in the early game, as you said, getting those advantages, and they just knew how to close. That was the second step that was really impressive about Suning. They never really found that hump where it's like, well, we can't take mid lane outer, so I guess we'll just sit here and stall.
Yeah, they definitely had a stylistic shift, because initially they had a Voidless as their jungler, which was a smarter jungler, a slower paced jungler known for his team fighting, but here's a fight in the skirmish in the
Another great example of Suning Gaming just rotating into the mid lane. Doesn't even matter that the Arctic Prison missed right there, because that's another kill onto Gung.
It's just an example. You bring Hacker into the team, communications completely shift. You have Knight into the team, one advantage snowballs into the next. That was just a great fight immediately the moment Yoon and Hacker ping 6. Easy kill onto Gung.
4 kills now in the early game, both of them spread evenly between the top and mid laners of TOP right here. Choo-Choo is apparently just dominating this 1 versus 2 here as Fade walks back into the lane here. And it all seems pretty gravy for Suning Gaming, because while they're getting pushed in the bottom lane is Ashe, and we can't actually see the CS right now, but I would assume it to be pretty even to Cho-Cho and Fade right now.
At this point in time, TOP do need to take a step back. Recognize that pacing is everything. Knight right now should not be being the push, because he's in a point where his tempo is push mid, look for a gank or look for a dive, and it's been working because the rest of the team, Suning Gaming, has been moving along with him. If they can just allow him time, give Gung blue,
XX trying to make a play in the bottom lane, abducts the Ashe, throws him into Cho-Cho, who's still falling down with the damage, but makes it back to the Tam Kench. In comes a teleport out from Xiao Ao, lands the Hemo Plague, chasing down, plus Hacker coming in from the top side, doesn't have his ultimate, looking for the Arctic Assault, flashes away, and XX should be able to get out of this one, turns around the death sentence, but chooses it incorrectly. So no kills in the bottom lane.
Yeah, this is just bad pacing, like really poor steps being taken by TOP. Okay, at least they're pushing Knight to go the long route. But the reason I'm saying is bad pacing, because ultimately TOP do want to end on the bottom side of the map, but they need to get control of mid lane first, so it's not Ryze rotating first. And it's not Xiao coming in with a proper TP flanking. If they get Talia on game, if they can push up mid, or at least have Zac help, maybe go for a gank mid, have her come down bottom side. Even if Xiao TPs, Marin has a response to that as well. These are the steps that TOP should be discussing, but they're falling behind because they tried to go for a cheeky gank immediately and then realized that Suning are just ready for it.
And it's difficult as well because the Ryze has pretty much accrued all of these kills in the early ganks. He's got 3 kills, 1 assist as well, so he's been part of everything that's happened in the early game. Has got his core itemization, so we'll be moving towards his big items now. And Gung is kind of in the middle of Hacker and Knight, who will just lock him down in the Rune Prison, puts him in another prison, this one a nice one, and we'll take him out once more.
Yeah, that's just awkward. That just comes down to the snowballing. This should be a tower. I don't know about this one, XX.
I think he's just aiming for the minions more than anything, but he's just going to take a bunch of damage.
He's just testing Knight, and Knight's been testing his limits throughout this entire game. Here's the thing. Suning Gaming know who and who cannot contest for wards. Gung was going for it alone, and if Sejuani has ulti, if Cleanse is not there, especially even if you use Cleanse on Sejuani ulti, you have a Ryze Rune Prison to follow up. That's why this combination is so effective when we've seen it throughout the entire split. So TOP going into game 1 knew that this was a thing that was going to happen, and now they're paying for it.
It's not just a combination we've seen in the LPL, but Hacker, you said it yourself, Raz, like he gets Sejuani all the time. And they even prioritize it if they can give it over to him. And Top were like, okay, well, we'll give this to you. But Gung was like, well, I recognize what's going to happen. I'll take the cleanse. But the fact that it just keeps on happening, you're not going to have cleanse every single time they look for a gank in the mid lane. And right now that has turned into 5 kills in the early game. And we're not really seeing a huge amount come out of TOP.
There's only so much you can prepare for. So preparing for the composition is one thing, but Suning Gaming is not necessarily known for a composition. Knight can go towards the Corki if he wants to. He can go for a lot of picks for himself. It's being able to prep yourself for the style of play that Suning Gaming are known for.
Well, XX are going to give bot lane another go right here. The Death Sentence just lands onto the Tam Kench, drags him back in once more. Yoon going to hit the grey health and actually just wandered back to tower. It looked like he kind of got a bit of an assist there from XX, and Mara now coming into the bottom lane. He's already almost got Mega. Hacker comes in, stalls out Mara for a couple seconds, allows time for the teleport to come into the bottom lane now from Knight.
Yeah, this is what's rough here. I think they have enough numbers Xiao, no TP.
Yoon's low, flash forwards, big Nara ultimate in from Mara, and XX dives in as well, but it's also low, kiting away, but he's going to throw both of the bot laners together. The teleport comes in from the Rise, Phage backing away, Gung heading into the jungle, and TOP are getting routed right now. They just lost 2 members in an instant. XX dives underneath the turret, Gung chased into the jungle and taken out. It's a 1-for-2 trade, but in favor of Suning.
Yeah, that was just 4 dives overall, but here's the thing. TOP still has the Caitlyn and Marin sticking through it. They're losing waves top lane. Good rotation from Knight.
But that was a 4 versus 5 overall because it was the dive underneath tower and it allowed so much time for Xiao Ao to push in the top lane. He's now got a 40 CS lead over Marin in the top lane. It's not even 15 minutes and he's pushing that in the tower.
And I would love to see the communication, or at least the replay of this one as we check it through. Because initially, thinking this through, they do have the numbers to just get Yoon and get out of there, but they try and go for a little bit more. Yeah, this is where you see the miscommunication, because ultimately, why is Zach underneath the turret? Why is Marin underneath the turret? The moment you get Tahm Kench, you want to group as a unit and just move out. And the only safe way to back out of that situation if you're just going for the support is not to the right. The exit to the turret is actually going through the topside jungle. But only 2 members are heading out because they were both blinking HP and they were completely far away from their own members.
And it seemed like the call came in from Marin because he was the one initiating. He was just like, I'm going in, I'm Mega Gnar, I'm going to flash forwards, I'm going to ultimate. But we know that Marin's communication with the team is obviously quite difficult. He's not fluent in Chinese, so it's just like, what? I'm going in, follow me. And everyone kind of had scattered ideas of what they wanted to do in the fight.
Even still, this is a problem that TOP had in terms of their dive communication before bringing in Marin. So a lot of that just comes down to the responsibility for a lot of players. Cat on TOP is known for being that caller. Now that they're starting to bring in Phage, that is a major question as to what is his responsibility specifically in going for those dives and if it's fully fleshed out.
What we know is it didn't work, but XX is going to give it another shot. Third time's the charm, jumps into the bottom lane, looking for the stretching strike on to the Tahm Kench again, aiming for the tank right here, comes in with the ultimate, drags him back towards the tower. In comes Hacker though for the counter gang alongside Knight. Chocho, he's low, he'll have to run away from this one, and XX doesn't have his passive, and Gung also moves into the bottom lane for the rotation. Marin is actually making a long trek down through river. And again, Suning, another successful counter gang.
Yep, they're hard forcing the bottom lane fights, and guess who's getting there every single time? Knight. Knight's always there first because he has a firm control of the mid lane. So right now, this is TOP getting frustrated.
And it just gives more and more time for Xiao Ao. And I know I was just watching one of the features on the Chinese broadcast, and it was Xiao Ao was saying, well, it's going to be a very tough lane opponent today. I'm going to be facing Marin. Well, it's not too bad when Marin's not even in the lane. He doesn't have to lane against him because he's constantly trying to react to what's happening in the bottom side of the map. And Suning still have control over there, which means they'll go for this first dragon.
Yeah, it's a tough game for Marin. Really, at this point in time, a lot of the plays that's been happening has been 3 people diving him multiple times, and him having to respond to a bottom lane dive, and Vladimir getting so far ahead based off that. Because Suning Gaming as a team have been a lot more patient and playing around that top lane. So it's unfortunate when this game's just been snowballed off of just pure teamwork.
Pretty much a good teamwork at that. So take a look at some of the items that have been picked up. Leandria's Torment and the Remnant already completed by Xiao Ao in the top lane. Compare that to the core completed, but there is no Black Cleaver yet coming in from Marin in the top lane. Mid lane 5-0-1. Knight's had an absolute field day in this game as he lost Chapter plus the Abyssal Mask. Has actually just turned that one into an Archangel Staff as well, so he's just hit 2 items to Gung's solid 1 item.
Yeah, and he's just not taking damage because he does have the Abyssal Mask for himself going up against Talia. So he's a lot more free to look for trades and just walk up to the wave. Which is the one worry that Talia has in the matchup is that, yeah, sure, she can try and push the wave initially and be able to get the, and try and poke Rise. But if Rise doesn't care about your damage, that's insignificant to him. Walk up to you, try and trade you, then allows him to move up with Hacker and control a lot more vision around bottom side. In this case, just because TOP's been looking towards that as their primary focus, or top side of the map, which happened earlier.
And the top side of that has already crumbled for TOP, and it's now the bottom lane tower that's under attack. We actually see Hacker around the area, probably just expecting another gank from XX, to be honest, but they also have complete control and vision over the area, so they can actually just see XX trying to take his Grump right now, so Hacker's just going to stick around and see where he goes.
And here's the thing, right now the game's going to be changing up in pace, because now Fury's moving with the team as well. The Ashe pick, this is what it's made for. He's going Essence Reaver into crit build, which is primarily for the cooldown reduction on ulti, has the ultimate hat as well, so we should be expecting a lot more ults coming out of Fury. He has it available to himself, and he can rotate mid just to see if he can catch the Talia.
You can actually get Ashe ultimate down to like ridiculously low levels with ultimate hat and max CDI. You can get to like, around like 40 seconds, look for another engage. But for now, the rest of the team can look for those engages as a Rune Prison once again followed up with the Ashe ultimate. The combos coming in from Suning Gaming. Rune Prison into any of the other CC. It's unavoidable.
Yeah, completely wrapped around them through the blue side jungle. Right now, TOP has to feel frustrated. Sure, you're pushing up mid, but you're not going to be able to take the tower, and you're just constantly losing members on the bottom side of the map.
Suning even able to rotate to the middle lane before the mid tower takes any damage, and Hacker moving into the top side of the map as well. Top lane, at the very least, Marin got a bit of time with the tower and with the mini waves to try and catch up and farm, but now Xiao Out will be back there shortly.
Yeah, top lane tower is down, bottom lane tower is down. Right now, primary focus is going to be on that mid lane tower that doesn't have too much HP on it. So sure, Marin could try and trip up top lane tower, but he needs to be grouping up with the team. He needs to stack up more rage bar for himself to try and stop Suning Gaming from bouldering through this mid lane tower. He's about to find out a Rude Awakening as the Rift Herald. He's going to make it a little bit easier for them.
Exactly. They don't even need to take the risk of just walking up aimlessly with a mini wave. They can now drop the Herald and probably just crack the tower with a single push. It looks like mid tower is already pretty badly damaged.
Yeah, right now, Suning Gaming, I don't know if TOP recognizes this, they have enough attack power to be able to take down 2 towers in the mid lane. They can take down the primary one pretty easily, the outside one, but then going towards the inner tower, they have the Ashe Arrow, they have the Sejuani ulti all primed, ready. Xiao can set up a wave. Right now he's on the bottom side of the map, so he can push out 2 more waves, move for a flank. So they already have this strategy primed, ready, and if anything goes wrong, they have the Tahm Kench, and it's up to TOP to try and protect that dive in the inner tower mid lane or completely give that away as well.
And while that was happening, there was 1 tower going down in bottom lane, 2 gungs, so you get solo gold on that one. 104, but is starting to build up a decent arsenal of items as he moves back into the mid lane right here. Looks like XX is just trying to give over the blue buff, and we'll see what the next steps are for Suning if they are indeed looking towards this mid lane tower, which should be the case. It looks like for now they are just picking up all the advantage they can on their side of the map and then looking for this Herald play to happen.
Yeah, 2 controls top side towards Baron, so already giving the threat of Baron up into TOP. They have to respect that. But a lot of that is just being able to push in towards the red side jungle. But TOP looking for Knight.
Hey, a pick here would be pretty good for TOP if they can make it happen. But Knight is actually turning at 1 versus 2, buying enough time for Hacker to come in as well. Lands the prison coming down once more. Dark Passage will get Marin to safety, but again, another great reaction from Suning.
That's great, but here's the thing now. TOP did at the very least exhaust Hacker's ultimate while not losing a member. So TOP should get a base off and then look towards going mid lane. They were able to push out Rise, so even though grand plan to be able to kill Rise, they at the very least got out of the situation while expending some of Suning Gaming's resources.
It did, but here comes the arrow landing dead center on Fate. He's trapped in place once more and dies before he can even get out of the stun. Now the push comes into the mid lane with the Herald ready to go. Outer mid didn't even need it.
He's completely out of position. He didn't have anyone near him. What did he expect he was going to do there?
There's going to be a lot of damage onto the base now of TOP. We'll see if they continue pushing. They don't have the mini-wave, but they do have another charge of the Herald that they want to step up here. They are also 1 man down with Phage still being dead, but it's just going to be the charge for now. Suning Gaming back off, taking 2 towers in the mid lane.
Already looking towards their next focus, their next objective, which is the Baron buff. Towards how much vision they can now control over the red side jungle now that they took 2 mid lane towers. Sure, there's still 1 top lane inner, but it doesn't mean too much. So at this point in time, just look at how many control wards that Suning Gaming is going to be purchasing for themselves. That's 3 members with control wards that they can get onto the map with. It's going to be really good for them. It's going to be onto TOP to try and pick up anybody. I think that's just the responsibility of Phage and XX. Whenever XX goes in, he's getting canceled out by Sejuani charge. So that's just really difficult to expect from him.
We're also getting to the point in the game where TOP will be starting to have to play dodgeball against Ashe arrows, which will be coming through all the time. Ultimate hat, he's fired it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. We're almost charging up to max ultimate hat, plus he's starting to get some crit on top of that Essence Reaver, so he's getting pretty close to max CDR on that ultimate.
That's just disgusting, honestly. So he's going to be able to constantly throw out ultis, and we've seen this. We're now seeing Knight pick up Spellbinder for himself, so he's the type of Rise to walk up to you and just completely burst you. So I don't even feel safe for Goong here, just sitting on side lane. He might even have to force his cleanse just from Knight walking up to him and sending out that one snare.
Now, I was talking to Clement about this the other day, and he was saying, I don't know how I feel about Spellbinder. Like, when you're ahead, it's obviously really good because you just smash them even harder. But if you're behind, or even it's like, it's a item. But like right now, when you're almost 10,000 gold ahead at 23 minutes, Spellbinder, pretty good.
Yeah, there are only like 2, maybe 3 champions that I see Spellbinder right now. Evelyn is one if you're far ahead. Obviously, Ryze is another strong one. People have mentioned Cassio, but Cassio prioritizes just more health underneath her, so Rylai's Crystal Scepter is fantastic on her. So you're right, it's a snowballing item. Right now, Knight's snowball.
He is. He's very much snowballed. 6-0-2 in this game, 100 and almost 60 farm at 23 minutes. I would definitely say a snowballed. Bot tower now being pushed in. There is a mini wave about 30 seconds back, so Suning going to find it pretty hard to knock down this tower. So we'll see if they move towards the Baron area, since they have currently lit it up.
They should. I think that's just the faster way to play the game currently. Obviously, it seems like they're just slowing the pace of the game down. Just saying that any answer is the right answer. That we're not going to lose on any front if we try to siege. If they try and defend, then we'll just pick a fight underneath the turret with Sejuani ulti, and we can just go towards Baron. The easy answer is Baron because they have so much room to work with as long as they clear out the red side jungle of wards. Right now, TOP have done a great job recognizing Suning Gaming have placed their focus towards bottom side, placed 2 control wards within their own red side jungle, and 1 ward, well, it was 2 wards before the first one got cleared out in the Baron area. So right now, TOP is feeling pretty safe. When it comes to Baron pressure, Suning Gaming have to stop that.
Yeah, they need to move up, try and clear out some of those wards, but they will like all those close and small bottlenecks that can allow Ashe to land a very easy ultimate flash over the wall. And Xiao Al is just going all the way in here on this Vladimir. Dives into the backline, and XX tries to cover, but in fact, he is the one who is going to die right now. And it looks like he's going to meet a very sad doom as Knight will find his 7th kill of the game.
Yeah, this gets awkward for TOP. You lose your jungler near the jungle pit. I'm going to call it jungle pit because that's where all junglers go to die. The Baron pit. They have to force a fight, but they don't really have any tools to do so.
And comes the Talia wall, splitting up the Baron pit, putting Hacker by himself in this one. It will have to just be a steal, but even buys enough time using the prison over the wall, locking down Goong. Flash comes in from Knight, locks down Caitlyn. Has to flash away from this one. Maron's thinking about engaging from the side, but not going to happen 4 versus 5.
Yeah, no Realm Warp available there. Almost off cooldown, so they could actually push mid and look for a dive if they stay up. So TOP is doing a smart thing and basing immediately.
Suning Gaming now with this Baron will be able to start knocking down the rest of these inner turrets and then maybe make some headway into the base now of TOP.
And Smart Yoon picks up a banner of command, so he's going to be able to just set one down and allow his team to push up. Should be top lane. I wonder who's going to be mid lane. It should be Xiao Al holding the fort down mid so they can push up and he looks to flank. But he's just going to, I guess, take the easy route and try and 5 it.
Yeah, I mean, if they can all just stand in front of a cannon minion, then eventually they'll win the game unless TOP do something proactive to either kill the minion or look for an engage right here. And this is the play. We sit here and we wait. Or we look for an engage, dragging in the Sejuani with the flick. Another great knock aside by XX, but Hacker going to be spat back out, and they've managed to catch Phage. 100-0, Xiao Al low, but he'll back away with the Sanguine Pool. And a cannon minion, it's still up, it's still sieging. And Yoon staying in front of it, trying to block all of these skill shots, blocking all of the damage. And really, only Chocho's the one that can deal with it, but the minion aggro has changed. So Top are able to push Suning Gaming out of their base, but the base has been cracked.
Yeah, I'd say Goong is the savior on that one, dealing enough damage to Xiao Al for the team to be a little bit more tepid, a little more scared about staying in the lane. So now that Suning have to base, TOP has an option of trying to at least get a few push on waves. Top lane, mid lane wave to allow Suning Gaming a harder time to utilize the Baron that they have now.
Still, the bottom outer turret, which is now the inner turret, is probably going to be an easy one to knock over for Suning Gaming. But there's also that open inhibitor in the top side of the map as well that they can start to play around. And the Spellbinder is now 100% as well. So we'll see who Knight unleashes that on in the near future.
Who's going to get blasted? Right now he has his eyes on Marn. Get out of there!
Moving towards the top lane, Knight. He's found him. Team over the wall as well. It's completely locked down. He hasn't moved in the last couple seconds. Yoon going to juke out for a couple seconds. Doc passes, drags him to safety. And Fury misses the arrow on that one as well. So Marn will get out of there.
Yeah, pretty good at dodgeball right there. Made a mention of that one. At least he got the dodge on that one.
He did. So he lives to fight another day, but that was the bot lane being pushed in, mid lane being pushed in. It bought enough time for the team to get the waves in the right position for the next push for Suning Gaming as well.
I don't like the position of Chocho right now. Didn't set up any of the traps in your mid lane. He's holding the bottom lane turret. You should already leave that to drive. Vladimir is going to get that.
Good little cleanse out of that one, coming in from Yoon. And mid tower just being sieged up once again. The Baron up cannon minion. Smite comes down from XS, but only half healths it. And this just battering ram is so ridiculous.
Way too healthy for what it is.
Super, super strong. It's not even fragile. It will just keep on sieging forever. Eventually manage to knock it over, but the inhibitor is already dead. Now Suning can convert this pressure into top side, look towards the second inhibitor. And at some point, TOP, they need to say enough is enough and just go in, get in there.
Oh no, and Martin's just got out of Mega.
Yep,
so there's
so
no
it's not now.
opportunity.
It's not today.
No.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe they can get a slow one shot. Nope.
Tam Kench. And this is just such an oppressive composition to play into when you're behind. It's like, well, you're in a catch-22 at all times. Do we engage? Well, we have to have Marin with the ultimate. We need to catch more than one person. But if we catch one person and Yoon's there, if we bottleneck ourselves, then we get caught by Ashe. Like, there's so many ways for this to go wrong.
It's because, and I criticized TOP's drafting right from the beginning, they have a great early mid-game composition. Obviously, they got stumped in the mid-game and early game. That's not where the criticism comes from. It's what composition you're running into. They fully understood they're going bot side early mid-game when they recognized that the Tahm Kench was the first pick coming out of Suning Gaming. So get out of there, Goong.
Yeah, this one is definitely unfortunate. Goong will either have to just try and find a kill onto Fury or just die where he stands. Almost gets onto Fury. That was relatively close, but he could back away at any time since he had another 4 members of Suning Gaming able to help him out.
Just got collapsed on by everybody from bottom side, top side of bot lane, literally every nook and crevice of the bottom side of the map, there was a member of Suning Gaming. So
that was just a tilted push, Raz. He was way too far up. He was at river when the base is being sieged. Like,
yeah,
that's just
a Raz push.
Yeah, that's a pulse push. That's like everyone can relate to that when you're behind in the game and just like, I'm just gonna push a lane, man. Like I'm just gonna push.
Because you just have to hope and pray that the enemy team loses a few brain cells in their final push. Because if you can push bottom lane, you're like, all right, thankfully, hopefully,
someone's gotta respond to me.
Hopefully they respond. They don't have to. They could actually just win the game, but hopefully they make a wrong decision.
Wasn't the case, and he just got caught and died. That's a good hook onto Knight, but it is in fact Phage who's gotten caught right here. The arrow comes through, knocks him down. There's just so much CC. Flash into the backlines. Tides of Blood comes in as well. XX walks it back to the tower. Nice double flick comes in onto Yoon and Knight, but more than anything, that's probably just a gap closer for Ryze as he's just pushing down onto these towers now. Marin poking away with the boomerang blades. He's going to get trapped in place once more. Xiao pushes onto the spawn pad. Marin with the regen may even just die on the steps of the spawn pad. Goong is over the wall, chucking rocks and doing what he can. But right now, Suning getting more interested in the objectives, in the towers, in the Nexus, and finishing off this game. Now they'll turn their attention to Goong. Don't step up to me. You'll just pad my KDA. And Xiao, they're literally sitting at the spawn pad, padding their KDAs as they'll eventually take down the Nexus. 16 kills to just 1.
And it's feeling bad for TOP. They're going into this set at least trying to cling on to any hope to playoffs. Just maybe they dreamt of it last night, and it should just be a dream for them. But if they can start here, it looks good. Well, that is a bad first game to come off of.
But it has to start here, as they have to reverse sweep this series and then go on to win every single series from here on out to make a playoffs run. And it's not looking great for TOP as Suning Gaming execute that composition flawlessly, push in the win and finish it off.
Yeah, that's a sad thing when you realize being in the Eastern Conference means that the 4th place team can whoop you, can really put it hurting on you. So, sure, TOP, immediately, game 1 into Suning Gaming, and it's rough. It's really rough. The coordination that the team had, I would say, is a 3rd place, 2nd place coordination from the Western Conference.
Right.
So it's unfortunate from them, but they gotta dust themselves off and go into game 2.
Okay, what's the diagnosis, Raz? What are you going to prescribe for them? What does TOP need to win this next game?
So now I'm not a doctor,
okay.
So I don't have any proper tools.
All right.
I'll give them a hammer.
Give them a hammer.
Hopefully they can do something with that hammer. Maybe bust a few kneecaps, but that's I'm not gonna. That's for you to deal with that in your own imagination. But ultimately, that was a rough one that just kind of solely focused on the early game. solely focused on the early game and how they utilize mid lane, because their mid lane was completely abandoned. Talia had no help, and they tried to force the bottom side fights when she was just like, I can't move first, so good luck.
Yeah, the early game kind of collapsed out there from TOP, but that's our diagnosis. We're going to send it over to the analyst desk to take a look at themselves.
Busting a couple of kneecaps. That's the diagnosis. Okay, interesting take, guys. We're going to have a bit of a different take here. Suni, it's a best of 3. This isn't the NALCS, so TOP do still have a chance here. Let's start with the draft phase. And I know Raz said during the cast that when you see a Tahm Kench, it pretty much means that there is going to be early, mid-game priority around the bottom side of the map, getting involved with that jungler, getting him in position for ganks, and you had some interesting thoughts about the Tahm Kench.
Yeah, the Tahm Kench was actually a fantastic choice from him, and I think the best reason for why Tahm Kench was a super high priority, Suning Gaming of course doing it in their first rotation, is that the Xayah was actually banned on the opposite side by TOP. With the Xayah ban, the Xayah Rakan duo was no longer a major factor, and it wasn't just the Rakan ban, it was the Xayah specifically. So the AD carry priority started to dwindle there, and in comparison, the support role for Suning Gaming, Tahm Kench is highly coveted for them. And with the Xayah gone, Rakan the only other support option they might have looked at, why not take the Tahm Kench? Why not utilize your comp to perfection?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You said during the game, Rusty, you looked at these champions, you're like, I can't think of a better Suning Gaming comp. It's like, what does that mean? What is a Suning Gaming comp, and why does Sejuani, Ryze, Ashe, and Tahm Kench fit it?
The comparison that we actually had was like a 2016 IMA at Worlds. It's a semi-global type of composition. Again, maybe the only improvement is Varus, just because he is the meta version of Ashe currently, but still it feels the same bill here, and especially against the Caitlyn, the Ashe does very well. But having a Tahm Kench, having an Ashe means they roam around the map, they hit level 6, they go top lane. In this case, it was mid lane. Top wasn't necessary, given what had happened there already. The Sejuani for the jungle position, honestly, you have to stop giving Hacker Sejuani. He's been playing way too well on it. And then having Ryze in the mid lane for Knight. It's not Zoe anymore, it's the new version of it for him. He's just got too much control and looks too in control of the champion, and mastery of it is noted.
Yeah, speaking of in control, we're going to go ahead and start these replays because things got really out of hand for TOP right out of the gate of that match. It was repeated back-to-back dives, and this is after Xiao Al was forced to start pool and his flash down in his own lane.
Yeah, he had no summoner spells. He definitely started with a puddle at level 1, and somehow we get to 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the game and Myron dies under his own turret. And I credit a lot of this to Hacker and Knight, to be fair, in being freed and being able to leave the lane. But the bigger discovery about this, of course, Ging will eventually go down here, is I need to watch the tape back, but I'm pretty sure that is heavily on Myron. If you're playing Airy Na into a W start Vladimir with no summoner spells, to have 12 minions crash onto your turret at 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the game is a giant mistake that isn't something that you need to happen. Trim the wave down at the very least to make it smaller. It's just, yes, it was great timing from Suning Gaming. I absolutely commend them for it. But I don't know what happened up there because we literally couldn't see it. Myron's made a mistake that ends up costing him his life twice.
Yeah, and so Myron did then try to dig himself out because our next replay is in the bottom lane. So the top lane of the map, it absolutely gets smashed by Suning Gaming. Now they just get to focus on, team up with that Tahm Kench, now that he is post level 6, and attempt to dive bottom. And you talked about that cleanse from Yoon.
Yeah, Yoon actually being able to cleanse and walk away from Myron's initial kill damage means that Gung doesn't have the E to place down, doesn't have the pebbles to place down. Knight gets shoved, but not into those rocks, so he actually is able to live and contribute to the rest of the fight, killing XX under the turret. And again, all of this stuff, the little details we mentioned for supports, can mean a big deal in the greater scope of things. We saw it in that dive, and during that dive when Suning Gaming come out on top, Vladimir was off farming in the wilderness in top lane himself, so it wasn't even a 5-on-5. That's just how good Suning Gaming are playing right now.
Top lane's already getting ahead, now the bot lane's ahead, and you said that Suning Gaming are playing well. For me, it feels so fast. It almost feels like they are one of the most breakneck speed teams in the LPL.
Isn't that weird though as well though? They've spent the last maybe 2 weeks of cross-conference trying to slow down, like trying to actually be more cerebral in their style, but I guess if you give them a sniff, they're probably going to go all in on it as well, and they still looked very clean doing that. So for me, I'm looking at the last 2 weeks, seeing perhaps some growth from them, and this being the 3rd week in a row from them being faster, much more clean. Perhaps it's their opponents being TOP, but Suning Gaming looked like they were making the correct move, every move, and there was no counterplay.
So, with that said, we are going to go ahead and toss it over into a break. We'll see you guys on the other side.